I hated being half American when I was little because people would pick on me. They called me an outsider for think that I was cooler for being able to speak it because I got good grades in English. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie, and make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. I usually try to post vlogs about my life and living in Japan right now, and uni is going to start soon, so stay tuned for those kind of vlogs. But if you're curious and you want to know more about Japanese culture, just like my life in general, then you should probably subscribe. I would love it if you guys would become part of the family or community or whatever this is. But yeah, make sure to subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So today I wanted to talk about what the reality is like living and growing up in Japan as a non-pure Japanese person. So basically, if you didn't know, I realized that in a lot of the comments of my videos, I assume people think that I'm an exchange student in Japan, but I'm not. I've been living in Japan for almost 14 years now, maybe 15. 14 I think. 14 years, and I've grown up in Japan going through elementary, middle school, and high school, and I've only lived in the States for 6 years until I was 6 years old and until kindergarten. So I did do most of my school in Japan, which is also why I can speak fluent Japanese, and I am very aware and I know the culture very well. So I thought today I would make a video about what it's like growing up in Japan, not being Japanese. So another PSA would be that my mom is American, my dad is Japanese, so I'm basically half both, and I am no less Japanese than I am American, and vice versa. So this is a story from a person's perspective that has both cultures 50-50. Obviously, I've lived in Japan longer, so maybe the Japanese culture outweighs a little bit, but just keep that in mind that I have both cultures in me, and that has to play into the whole factor of this video, if you know what I mean. So let's start with elementary school. I feel like elementary school is usually the hardest when it comes to halfsies or people who are not pure Japanese, which would be because in Japan, because it's such a homogeneous society, and because I believe, I don't know the exact numbers, but 90% of the people are pure Japanese. They have like whitish, yellowish skin with black hair, usually straight and thick, and they just have a very stereotypical Japanese persona, and that is what everybody has. So if you stand out in that type of crowd when you're in elementary school, especially in elementary school, it's easy for other kids to pick on you because you look different. And for my case, I got picked on a lot for just having brown hair. Like, it's the stupidest thing ever, but I got picked on for having brown hair because I had my mom's genes and my hair was brown instead of black. And people would call me Tepatsu Gaijin. Like, yeah, they would call me Gaijin, which basically means outsider, and it also translates into foreigner in Japanese. But it's supposed to be the shortened, like, people think it's the shortened version of Gaikokujin, which means foreigner, but it really means, the literal translation is outsider. So they called me an outsider for being half American. That was tough. And they also picked on me for having weird pronunciation when it came to Japanese, because I believe my pronunciation wasn't as good when I first moved to Japan, but still, like, picking on other people's pronunciation when it comes to like different languages, and especially if you yourself can't speak the second language or don't have any other language that you're fluent in, you literally don't have the right to pick on other people who have like weird pronunciations in your language just because that's their second. And then in middle school, I guess it was a little better. At least people were understanding in the fact that I was half American and half Japanese. And also, once everybody starts learning English as a second language in school, they start to envy you, or they start to think that you're cooler basically because you can speak that language. And this isn't always for every non-pure Japanese person in Japan, because obviously me myself being half American can speak English, but like, for example, people who are half Brazilian or people who are half Korean can't like, their mother tongue isn't English and Japanese. Their mother tongue would be Japanese and Brazilian. Portuguese. Or their mother tongue would be Japanese and Korean. So obviously, because the second language that Japan chooses to teach in school is English, I did have an advantage in that, and people would think that I was cooler for being able to speak it because I got good grades in English. But it never made sense to me because, like, you were the people who picked on me for looking different and being from a different country, and then now you like me for being able to speak English. Like, it didn't make any sense at all, and it was really annoying, to be honest. And even in high school, a lot of people say that they're jealous of me for having half like American blood and also being able to speak English, but that's such a stereotypical way of seeing me, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, you see me through a lens of being half American, and those never come off for people somehow. So it just looked like they basically accept you for being able to, like, for example, get good grades in English. Like, they automatically register you as, oh, well, she could do English because she's half. And not all of people who are even half American or half English-speaking countries can do well in English, and they automatically think that you're good at it because you look for it. So I honestly think that Japanese people need to change their ways of thinking like that. Obviously, being non-pure Japanese doesn't equal being able to speak perfect English or being able to, or having a great physique, for example. Like, they expect you to look prettier than normal Japanese people because, like, generally speaking, yes, Caucasian genes have the qualities that Japanese people want in a beauty standard. So, for example, like bigger eyes or a slimmer nose, a smaller nose, or like white skin. But a non-pure Japanese person never only means like a half Caucasian or half whatever white country. Like, there are Blasians in Japan too, and or even like half Chinese or half Korean or half Asian people. They are somehow like automatically not registered as like the hafu, and it's so weird. And I myself am like the very stereotypical hafu as in like half something and half the other in Japan, which is half American and half Japanese, and that's probably, it's like the one that automatically people register in their head because most of the celebrities that are out there who are non-pure Japanese are either half and they're half British or half American and Japanese. That's usually what they are, and somehow that's like the category of hafu that I go into. So it's been easier now because like people accept you in a different way. They do have rose-colored glasses on when they look at you because they automatically think that you could do everything because you're half American. I'm like, why? But yeah, they have a very, very stereotypical way of thinking of what a hafu is, and it's kind of annoying. I mean, yeah, but I've also like heard that, for example, in elementary school, people would yell at you to just go back to your country. And that's not just in America, that's in Japan too. Japan is a pretty racist country, to be honest. They're not even racist towards a certain race, they're racist to people other than their country. They're racist to people other than people who are from their country and who look Japanese, who can speak Japanese fluently. Like, if you don't look Japanese, speak Japanese fluently, and have lived in Japan for your whole life, you're automatically a gaijin, which is an outsider. And that's how racist this country is, or that's how homogeneous it is. It's bad. So for people who are thinking of coming to Japan or like who want to do an exchange year in Japan, being here for 1 year is not that bad, let's be honest. It's probably going to be amazing. You're going to experience the culture, especially because the culture is very unique and it has its own flavor. Being here for 1 year would probably be amazing, but growing up here is half traumatizing, to be honest, because you are not going to be accepted in the first few years. Even if you grew up and lived in Japan, obviously your close friends might, like, they will accept you for being the half C that you are, and they will accept you because they know that you've lived and grown up in Japan and that you speak the language fluently and there's nothing wrong with you. But other people will look at you as the outsider, the person who looks different, the person who has different qualities, and even also having different cultural backgrounds. They would pick on you for like eating different food. Yeah, it's really bad, to be honest. So basically, to sum it up, living and growing up in Japan as a non-pure Japanese person results in getting bullied in elementary school, and then somehow in high school and middle school, people completely change the way they look at you and they think that you're the coolest person ever. Well, that's a little exaggerated, but like, they start to be jealous or envy you because you're a half whatever it is, and then they automatically assume that you speak English or that you're from a country that speaks English, and they also expect you to have qualities of a Caucasian / outsider, gaijin, whatever you want to call them, and they automatically assume that you're like tall, have blue or brown eyes, and have a different hair color, and that you're whiter than everybody else. I don't know. It's really weird. And me myself have experienced that for 14 years now in Japan, and it has its ups and downs. It has its ups and downs, and now I'm very grateful for my cultural background and stuff, but it took me a while to get over all of that and accept myself for who I am. I hated being half American when I was little because people would pick on me, and I didn't even want to learn English. Like, my English was terrible in elementary school, to be honest. And I finally was able to accept myself for being half American and embrace my English speaking abilities and embrace my American side and learn more about their culture, but also still like keeping the Japanese culture. And it's been a weird journey, but yeah, this is the reality of living in Japan as a non-pure Japanese person. So just keep that in mind when you come to Japan, or keep that in mind when you see someone who's half Japanese, and if they have lived in Japan, know what they went through, because it's not the easiest thing. And I hope everybody else understands that too. Okay, so that's gonna be it for the video today. I hope you guys liked it. I hope it was informative enough. Let me know if you want other stories about what it's like living in Japan or growing up in Japan. And I could definitely do story times or just talk to you guys or do Q&As and stuff. So leave those in the comments. Tell me if you liked it, like it if you did, and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to see my other videos, please subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. I will see you guys again, and bye.